I'm joined by two drivers now. We've turfed Bob out of the studio, although he's sitting there with his arms folded looking at me saying ask the right questions. We've got the enforcer Russell Ingall with us. Russell, good afternoon to you.
Very well, thanks. Beautiful day you put on for us.
Yeah, you wait till the weekend, son. You're not going to want to be here.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And Steve Owen joins us as well. Steve, good afternoon.
Pleasure to be here.
I don't know why you got the headset with the fancy mic, and you got stuck with the handheld one. What's the respect here with the older statesman and the young buck?
Well, this is the old mic is a bit more old school, you see, so it probably suits me a bit better, you know.
Well, I
feel like one of the old jockeys, the old disc jockeys, you know.
Yeah, but old experienced. Use that word, experienced.
I'll run with that.
How long has it been now? 15, 16 years?
Yeah, it's been a fair innings. I've just been informed that possibly during this year I'll have the 5th most round starts of any driver that's been in the category, so I'm sneaking up there.
So why do you carry on? What keeps driving you to do this? I accused Greg Murphy of being old a couple of years last year. So you're too old to get out of the sport. He wouldn't talk to me anymore.
Well,
I'm going to go there with you.
Greg's not physically old, he's mentally old, you see, because he punishes himself too much. Look, I don't know. Look, I still enjoy it. I still enjoy a good race. I don't enjoy some of the politics that's involved in this sport, and there's plenty of it. They reckon normal government politics are pretty hairy. Well, V8 supercar politics are pretty hairy too. I think they're strong tip. Don't have to be, but people make it hard for themselves. But the actual racing's good fun, you know. We've got a pretty good crew of drivers too, you know. There's some pretty talented guys out there. So if you've had a bit of a result, you know about it. But still enjoy it, and my paychecks keep clearing, so we'll keep running.
What do you think has been the biggest change that you've noticed in the 16 odd seasons that you've been circulating?
Oh, look, I've been fortunate enough that I've been through the 2 eras of V8s. You know, I went through the era of the real legends of the sport, you know, Brock and Dick Johnson and Larry Perkins, you know, the true characters of the sport. So I went through that era, which I'd never give up. It's been great to say that I've raced against those guys. And then I've gone into the new era of all the new guys, you know, the Wing Cups and the Lowndes and the that sort of thing. Well, no, look, I should mention Marcus, because he is definitely. I only don't mention him because he's not in the sport at the moment.
Yeah, well, NASCAR, but
NASCAR, yeah. I mean, in V8s, but no, you can't miss Marcus, because I rate him up there as high as Wing Cup, maybe better. He was definitely one of the guys. So to go through the true legends and the up and coming legends. So I've been around both, you know, but. The racing has changed a lot. You know, I came from when the races were a lot shorter and there was a lot more thrust, and you only had 20 laps to get in amongst it, and you had to hit or be hit, one or the other. But it's a bit different now. The races are longer, so the format and the style of racing has changed a lot more as well. But it doesn't. The talent hasn't changed. It's probably got greater.
Russell, it comes down to a hell of a lot of trust amongst your fellow competitors, doesn't it, when you're dealing with situations that are less than perfect. You've got to know that the guy next to you, behind you, is actually concentrating. We've seen races recently. In fact, Bob was having a scream at me about the Indy cars the other day, and they all look like rank amateurs. Do you rate all the guys that you drive with? Is it a fairly tight field as far as skills concerned?
Oh, mate, I think
careful what you say.
You got a fairly broad ranking system, I got to tell you, because yeah, there is some guys you can trust. And mate, there's some guys you don't trust at all. You wouldn't trust them on the track, and you wouldn't trust them with your wife. So that's fairly broad. But yeah, look, it's yeah, you got to know your competition, because it's so important in a race. You got to know their weaknesses and their strengths, and that's what's probably a bit of advantage for me being around a while. That I probably know everyone in the field. I know where they're strong and where they're weak. You know, they can say the same about me as well. I can be a little bit unpredictable too, depending on how I wake up in the morning. So that's probably a little bit of an advantage. But yeah, it's interesting. It keeps you on your toes. But you know, you get someone like Lowndes, for instance. You know, everyone loves Lowndes. You know, the crowd favourite. I call him the smiling assassin, though. You know, he's got the smile on his face, but I tell you what, he won't hesitate to give you a touch up.
Very focused work. What about you, Steve? Are there guys on the track that you just, when you see them, you go, okay, wide berth, keep well away, give them plenty of room?
As Russell said, some guys have got their strengths and weaknesses. And
name them, Steve. Who are they? Come on.
You like to keep this information to yourself.
Get out of here, tell me. Did you say Bugs? Sorry, I thought you said Bugs. Sorry.
I've seen guys get punched in the face through their helmets in various formulas. So
Yeah, Timo, a couple.
You're not mentioning our teammate, Paul Morris and Tony Lopez, by any chance, are you?
we're not doing names, are we? What's the worst? What's the worst that's happened off track with another driver? Does it carry on like that night later on in the bar? You son of a roll.
Well, I've definitely got a good one going back a few years with a Mr. Scaife down at Eastern Creek.
Yeah.
I think that was fairly well documented. That did carry on for a fair while. The animosity carried on for a few years actually until he ended up in the commentary box. Now he has to be nice to me. So he gets
That's why you
paid.
stuck around.
He gets paid to be nice to me, so he has to smile and wave. I'm sure he doesn't want to, but he has to.
Generally,
And I love
though,
it.
generally they get on okay though. The guys on the track on the circuit?
Look, I think everyone's been around enough that you can throw a bit of abuse at each other on the day, and then next weekend you're still talking and get on with it. That's the way I like to do it. I don't hold a grudge, if I fix someone up and they got their nose out of joint about it, you have a blue on the day, but get over it and get on with it.
You threw me out of your pit a couple of years ago. You won't remember. So,
You see, you're talking to me again. It's taken you a year, but you're talking to me.
I'm brave enough.
And again, well, no, you're getting paid. You have to talk to me. So.
Handsome.
You're like
as
Scaife.
well. Yeah.
You're a more handsome Scaife.
No, Scaife can drive and knows what he's talking about.
Look, I'm a soft tyre fan. I reckon this should have happened years ago, and we should probably be on even softer tyre. I think it.
Why?
Because of the deterioration factor. You don't want a race to be monotonous, because the harder tyre they were on before was actually too good. It stayed the same from the start of the race to the end of the race. And last year, for instance, people were putting up their fastest laps with like 10 laps from home. You want a deterioration factor, so a bit more strategy comes into it. The guys that pit a little bit later, when they got fresher tyres, they can bolt out and they've got maybe a second and a half on the guy in front. At least they can catch and mow them down, but they know if they push the tyres too hard, they're going to deteriorate quicker. So a bit more strategy both in the pits and with the driver, and I think that's what makes racing more exciting.
Well, it involves the whole team as well.
Absolutely,
A lot more involves your pit wall.
We just don't want to train the cars buzzing around for a whole race and no one passing. That was why the soft tyre got introed, to actually try and mix it up a bit.